Hey guys, it's Misty with My Paper Cuts again. And today I'm coming on to share day 5 of my different kind of December daily that I am doing this month. Like I mentioned in my very first video, I decided to do a daily video of, the things that I do when I only have a little bit of time each day. I mean, there's days like obviously today I have lots more time to craft because it's Saturday and with COVID, I'm not going anywhere. But it's just my way of sharing little things that I do to not only help build my stash, but also to take me time and to make sure, even if I just have 15 minutes or 20 minutes or half an hour, that I'm taking time and doing what I love. It's just really, really important to me to get this time in each day. Anyway, I guess I've preached on enough about that to you guys, but I just wanted to revamp what I'm doing here in case some of you have just jumped in today. I want to thank Susan and her bestie Linda again for following along. I think it's a very healthy thing to do. I think it's great to use up our stash and to build our stash of finished projects. And along the way, with something I would do if I just had my short time today, I thought I would give the tips and tricks that are most important to me for each step. So like I mentioned in my video before yesterday, when I was doing my cards, my next step would be to get all my bases done. If I only took my 15-minute work break or my half-hour lunch, I would come in here and I would prep all my card bases so that when I got off of work or I had more time, I could come in and do my card assembly. So I wanted to kind of share those next two steps with you guys. And so I thought I would share my favorite cardstocks to start with. Now, when I do card bases, I don't use anything less than 110-pound cardstock. And there is a difference between brands in the weight of the cardstock, which I'm hoping to kind of share with you today. It's really hard to do on camera. It's so much easier to do in person. But I wanted to go with my favorite brands and then my backup brands and give you some reasons why and kind of show you a side-by-side comparison. So this red here is from my favorite brand. And my favorite brand of cardstock is Simon Says Stamp. And I do know that they are a little more expensive, but there's a good reason. This is sturdy cardstock. It scores and it folds beautifully. It doesn't crack. It comes in beautiful, beautiful ranges of colors. And it has matching envelopes. And one really cool thing about Simon is they will do, like this is Schoolhouse Red. They will do the cardstock and then they will do envelopes that have V-flaps and the regular just line flaps. They will do slimline envelopes in this color and they will do metallic envelopes in this color. And the other really nice thing about Simon envelopes is they will do the peel and stick on some of theirs so that you don't have to lick them, which with COVID is kind of a heebie-jeebie thing for me. So, so this is my favorite brand is Simon. So, and like you can hear that quality. It's so thick and just, it's luscious to me. So, and then my next favorite brand is My Favorite Things. And My Favorite Things is another company that has a good cardstock. You can see it's not quite as thick, but it is the beautiful colors. This is one of their most popular colors. It's called Snow Cone. And again, they do matching envelopes. So another beautiful range of colors. The nice thing about these two companies in particular, and I know that P has told me she loves Papertrey ink cardstock, which I've never tried, but I do plan on trying it on my next order. I definitely need some more colors of cardstock. I'm running low with all these cards I've been doing. But it's just a bigger variety. Now I know Michael's and Hobby Lobby and Joann's, they have their own heavyweight cardstocks, but I find the color palette very limited, and it's, I just don't find the exact colors that I want, or colors that really match our pattern papers as well as I do when I go with MFT and Simon. And if you don't make a lot of cards, then it's worth the investment to go with the smaller packs of these really, really nice cards. They'll feel much nicer in the long run, and you'll feel better when they go through the mail that they're not going to get damaged. So I highly recommend these two brands if you can swing it in your budget. The next one that is also a favorite of mine, I pick up at Tuesday Morning when they have it, and it's the 110 pound of the Coordinations. Now, it's a little bit more difficult to find this. I feel like for the price, I would rather go with my Simon or my Favorite Things, unless I find it at Tuesday Morning, which usually has a good price. I have a pack of the 65 pound here, and it was only $2.19. So to me, that's worth it because it's, what is it, 50 sheets. This is the lightweight. I don't remember how many come in. 30 sheets come in the heavyweight. So again, you know, it's a good option for the price, and it is very comparable, especially to the MFT. Not quite as thick as the Simon, but it is somewhere in between the two. So, and usually they will carry the black, the white, and maybe the craft at Tuesday Morning when it comes in. But if you see that 110 pound Coordinations cardstock, it is worth picking up. It is really, really a good cardstock. So the next one might be a little more difficult for you guys to find. It's, again, nice and heavyweight. And this is by a company that sells, I pick this up at our local paper distributing companies. So, you know, think of like the people who sell like copy paper and envelopes to large offices and large companies. They'll usually do like specialized stationery or invitations too. But you can go in, that's usually where I buy my reams of Neenah cardstock that I color on, which I'll go over at another point. But this pop tone paper, which it says it's French, for the price, again, it's 50 sheets. And I showed you, you can also get envelopes that match in different sizes, but this one is a really nice heavy duty. So don't forget your paper companies. I believe Kelly Paper is a national, and Veritiv Express is another one. Veritiv Express is the one that I was going to, but they closed recently, so I have to find a different one. But this pop tone paper, I think, is also available online, and it's another good one with a little bit different of colors. This one's called Cotton Candy. The blue, I think it's called Blue Raspberry, is also a really nice teal color, similar to my cup here, similar to this. And then here I have, and I should have brought in the Park Lane too. Park Lane at Joann's also has a heavyweight cardstock, and it's not terrible. To me, it does tend to crack. And then I have this green one here is the Hobby Lobby, and you can already see the difference. It's quite a bit thinner, but it is heavy. I will use this. I will use this if I'm in a bind and I don't have the color that I want, or if I'm using a nice thick pattern paper on top, because that will help with the weight of the cardstock not being as heavyweight as, say, this Simon. And that's probably, oops, sorry to bump. That's probably a good way to show you compared to, and that's just barely moving it. So it's definitely, I mean, it's usable, but you wouldn't want to use like lightweight scrapbook paper on top of this, because your card's going to be really flimsy. So I don't recommend this unless you're using a thicker paper on top. And this is the Michaels, and this is my last go-to. I know Susan would probably switch these two because she doesn't like the Hobby Lobby. But I don't like the Michaels heavyweight as much. I just find it's very, very flexible. I do like their black. I will buy their black heavy. But I just don't like it as well. And I do know that Hobby Lobby now has one they're calling extra heavyweight. And I did buy some, but I haven't broken into it yet. They don't, I think I've only seen it in cream. I don't, unless somebody else out there has seen it, just let me know. But I'm curious to see if extra heavyweight is worth its title. So the next thing I wanted to mention for the beginners is the way that I cut down my cardstock. So there's two ways, because I do A2 size cards, because that's what I have for envelopes. I have others as well, and I'll do them sometimes, but A2 is the size I do most often. And I like what a lot of people call the hot dog fold, which is this one, which you would fold on this line. So you would cut this down, you would put it in the tall way in your paper trimmer and cut it at 4 1/4. So you end up with a piece that's 4 1/4 by 11, and you would score it at 5 1/2 and fold it. Now I like to do this when I show you guys how I store my cards, which is another video I will do. I have a really good way of protecting this type of card, and I don't know, it's just more aesthetically pleasing to me. I like it both when I do it in the vertical way, and I also like it when I do it the landscape way and open it this way instead. It's just my favorite. So a lot of people call that, they call it the portrait mode, the vertical, or this is hot dog. And then those people who call that hot dog call this the hamburger one. And this is the fatter one. So you would put this in your paper trimmer on the, with, you know, the longer side up against the top, and you would cut it at 5 1/2. So you end up with two pieces that are 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. And then you would score it at 4 1/4 and fold it. So then you would end up with a card like this. And I don't do those as often. And like, again, I'll get into that later. But it's just this type here is just more pleasing to my eye. And so that's why I do that. But this way you get two cards out of each sheet of 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock with absolutely no waste. And that is why I haven't jumped on the slimline card bandwagon yet. I don't know, I just don't like the waste. And I have a lot of A2 envelopes, and that's what I intend to use up. I may do it later, but I'm not investing in all those dies and such. So then the last thing I wanted to go over today is where I would get my inspiration, or where I would get ideas for the layout of a card. So when I first started mass producing cards, it was for a charity that is no longer around, but the resources from that charity are. So it was called Operation Right Home, and a lot of you old timers will probably know this. Sandy Allnock, who is an amazing artist and gives great quick art lessons and also does art classes online. She was the founder of it, and what we did was we sent her handmade cards, and they were shipped overseas to soldiers who were deployed so that they could use them to write on and send home to their loved ones. And in doing that, I learned how to mass produce. Also, I learned a lot of artistic info and just ideas. But the other thing that Sandy did was she did sketches. And they are still available on her website, even though the charity itself is no longer around. But she's got hundreds of these. And the best thing about her sketches for beginners, to me, is that she gives all the measurements. So she gives you the different colors for the different papers, and then she gives you the measurements of each piece. So this is a really good way to start learning different layouts. And I printed out a couple of samples for you guys just so you could see what I'm talking about. So, you know, with these measurements and then just ideas of where to put a sentiment. You know, it's just a really, really good resource. And like I said, I think there's a couple hundred sketches there. But this is a really good resource to go to if you just get stuck when it comes to how to lay out your card. Great for beginners with all these measurements. So that's what I wanted to cover for that. The other option that's out there is if you search on Google and you just put in card sketches. There are many, many blogs and websites that do weekly sketch challenges, and they give you a sketch, and it's just for you to, you know, do the challenge and try to create a card with that layout, or it doesn't even have to be exact. It's just supposed to be inspiration. So you can Google card sketches, and I know that there's a bunch on Pinterest as well. And again, it just gives you the basic layouts, kind of like this, just to get you, you know, your base to get started with. And the other thing that you should keep in mind is when you're scrolling through Instagram, or I guess on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook, so I don't really know. But on Instagram especially, if you see a card that you like, you know, try to look past all the pretties and all the extras and look at the basic layers. That's going to give you a really good idea of the layout of the card. Because when you're drawn to a card, the layout of it is a big piece of what you're drawn to. So, you know, don't think you're just drawn to a card just because of the stamped image or the flowers or the ribbon or the sentiment. A lot of it is how the layout is to your eye. And something that would be pleasing to you may not be the same thing that's pleasing to me. But that's, you know, you got to learn your style, and you've got to learn what you're drawn to and what you're comfortable with. And I just think that if you can take a card that you love and really just look at the black and white layout of it, you'll get a lot of inspiration beyond the products used or the, you know, the images. So that is my advice for that. And the last piece that I wanted to mention with layouts on cards is when you are doing little things like rhinestones or, you know, just little things. I do know that there is the rule of thirds, which I don't want to get into because I don't know it well enough to be spouting off about that. But the one thing that I have always tried to pick up, and sometimes I don't do it, and I notice that it does make a difference, is to put things in a visual triangle. So that, because that's kind of naturally the way your eye goes. So kind of put your main elements into like a triangular shape. Or the other thing that I always try to do is to keep things uneven. So like if you're doing like Nouveau drops or a rhinestone, try to do like 3 or 5. It's just something that someone somewhere has proven it's just more pleasing to most people's eye, is an uneven amount of things to look at. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. It's not a hard, fast rule, but it is something that I've noticed definitely has an impact when you're looking at something. So hopefully I haven't bored you guys to tears. I know there wasn't really much pretty to look at today, but my intention with these videos was to share my step-by-step process, and along the way to give some of the most common questions I get asked, or some of the most helpful things that I've learned over the years of doing this that I think might help you. So again, thanks for stopping by. Sorry I yammered and yammered, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.